Well, everyone, it's a very rainy Tuesday here in Colorado, a rare event because usually Colorado is just dry and kind of drab. But today we actually have an interesting thing to talk about. I was going to save this for tomorrow, which is why I'm wearing a Disney t-shirt because my kids like looking at it. I normally swap into something more like plain for streams and videos and stuff, but I figured we'd talk about this because a lot of you have been sending it to me, asking me what I think, and I'm going to share my thoughts on it. Okay, so what is this alleged leak in question? Well, it comes from Big Extra Dip, who says that he found these photos after his friend texted him, and his friend sent these photos to him. And this is the same friend that previously shared information he says was accurate about AC Hexe before AC Hexe info was made public. That's just literally hearsay, so we have no reason to believe that. If he had evidence that that person leaked accurate information about Hexe, that could be useful. But other than that, we don't really know. There's other allegations that these screen grabs are allegedly coming from Ubisoft Kiev, and that's where they're leaking from, which is possible. Also, sorry if you hear running around. My kids just got home from the dentist with my wife, and they're sprinting above a floor above me. If it is true that these came from Ubisoft Kiev, that's not impossible. Of course, the main studio working on the Black Flag remake is Ubisoft Singapore, but as we know, Ubisoft has a lot of studios around the world, and a lot of them help on pretty much everything. And we also know that they are desperately trying to finish this thing in time for probably a March release-ish, and as a result, it's kind of all hands on deck at the moment. Now, these are the pictures in question. I'll pull these up specifically, and we'll look at what people have pulled up here in just a second. This is the first one. Of course, they're very grainy and kind of blurry. This one appears to be taking place in a tavern or a bar, while like a fight has broken out. And then if we toggle forward, you can see another picture of presumably Edward running on a rooftop, crowds underneath him, the sun shining through the leaves and reflecting off the hair. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. What's my stance and take on this at this point? Personally, the more I look at this, the more I think that it's just an elaborate fake. Probably a lot of AI generation has been used, if not entirely AI generated. I actually went into Midjourney and tried to replicate it quickly over the course of like 5 minutes, and I did get some that are fairly close, like that give you a rough vibe, not quite exactly what we're seeing here. I think they managed to pull off a picture that looks like a video game really well, and that's something that can be hard with AI generation stuff. Yeah, this one looks more like a video game, so I could see that. This looks much more video gamey, but all of these shots are AI generated. Everything I'm showing you here is all AI generated. None of this is actually real. But one of the telltale ways to see if something is AI generated is usually to look at the smaller details that, you know, if you just quickly glance at it, you won't notice. But if you look a little bit closer, you realize things don't make sense. Like, for example, in this shot where you can look close at the Edward, but you see, like, what are these things hanging on his belt? Why does he have 3 like belts of cloth? And what are all of these straps? I think this is supposed to be a rifle. Like, it started rendering a rifle, but then it kind of freaked out. You can also see the fingers start to like lose all definition, and they just turn into like weird, bendy, twisted things. It just doesn't look right. Same over here. But at first glance, it looks pretty good. It's when you start to look and try to like follow one line all the way up that you start to notice things. Like down here where the column just kind of turns all blurry and gets weird. The more you look at it, the more you find problems with it. Like up here, there's really weird, like garbled architecture at the top of this building. I don't know what this is supposed to be. And it's basically because through these models, when they're generating images, they start with like a really low resolution, blurry version of it, and then they refine it. And the algorithm refines it. And so you can get broad strokes accuracy, but it's when you look closer that you start to see problems. And some of these do better than others. This one I think is a pretty good one, but even still, as you look down the street, this looks really nice. You can still see artifacts as you look a little bit closer, whether it be how the roofs like trail off, how the dome, which clearly is supposed to be a dome, is not actually a dome. It goes like a little more squared off over here for some reason before curling off over there. It's just kind of weird. And similarly, again, there seems to be some rifle that eventually blends into the building, and it doesn't have a handle, and a lot of this stuff just starts to fall apart. Again, the fingers kind of disappear right there. He has a lot of extra things hanging from his belt that aren't needed, and so it just doesn't really make sense. The more you look at it, again, it kind of stands out. Now, looking at the leaks, alleged leaks, we see some of these same things, but you notice one very convenient aspect of this is that it's pretty compressed. It's been blurred. And when you look closer, conveniently, the hands have gotten very compressed. So any sort of artifacting with the fingers, we don't see that. You can also see other things like the stuff hanging from his belt has also been super compressed. But then this almost looks like 2 additional little legs sticking out of his hip. I don't know what these are supposed to be. I don't know if this is supposed to be a weapon. I don't know. But this one immediately, to me, just looks a little funky and weird. And then going back here, like, again, broad strokes, initially you look at it, it looks pretty good. Yes, it's blurry. There's weird artifacting like that. The hands, once again, very conveniently are blurry and you can't make out much detail. But it's also when you pause and you start looking at more of the details that would be like focused on by artists if they were working on it. Like this back room area. It looks like there's more people sitting at this bar with the window open and these pillars are there, but it doesn't really make sense. The building layout doesn't really make sense. It's just kind of strange. Also, the lanterns are all different shapes, which is also strange. You'd expect them to maybe be the same asset repeated, but they're all different. I don't know. So what people started doing is they started putting these into tools that are designed to search for AI artifacts, because when you generate something through AI, you can usually find remnants of those algorithms in the data. And when I did this myself, I found that the first screenshot was viewed and they said, we are quite confident this image is AI, or a significant part of it was created by AI. But then the second picture, it said they were very confident it was generated by humans. Okay, so they think the tavern scene is AI, the outdoor one is not AI and is human generated. And to be clear, when I put other video game screenshots into this same test, they also did not come back with AI testing or showing up in the tests. Other people have done this with their own AI tests and things, and they found completely opposite information. It's almost like these things are kind of a crapshoot. Decopy AI looked at the tavern scene and thought it was 100% true image probability, not a sliver of a chance that it was AI generated, while the other one was very confident it was AI generated. I don't know about that. It looked at this one, which the other app thought was 100% human generated, and this one says 92% chance it's AI generated. Who knows? I mean, clearly at this point, the tools that are designed to test whether it's AI generated or not disagree. So I don't think we can rely on those apps to tell us whether it's AI generated. We just have to kind of look and evaluate it ourselves. And based on what I'm seeing some very convenient blurriness and artifacting that just so happens to cover up the telltale signs of AI generated imagery. Now, beyond that, I will also say that there's a component of this that is important to remember, which is that we know for a fact that the AC4 Black Flag remake is being built in Anvil Next. And Anvil Next is the engine that's being used for AC Shadows, of course. And AC Shadows is a very impressive engine. I know people like to meme and joke about, Assassin's Creed, but it is a very impressive engine. It does run quite well. It's graphically a powerhouse, and it's not perfect. Like there's always room for improvement with every engine, but it is scalable. It is very pretty, and it's also stable as well, which is refreshing. It's something built from the ground up for open world games, which is not something you can say for, say, Unreal Engine. But it also, like most engines, has a particular vibe and look. There's certain telltale things where you can see it and you just immediately go, it looks like Assassin's Creed. that looks like a Ubisoft game, you know? You can just spot it, see it from a mile away. In the same way that you can see a screenshot of like Red Dead Redemption or GTA and know that that's a Rockstar game. And personally, this is one that's harder to like quantify because it's just kind of a vibe check. These screenshots don't look like Anvil to me. These screenshots look to me like probably an AI generated image that was tasked with creating a Red Dead Redemption 2 screenshot in a pirate setting that was reminiscent of Black Flag. And in fact, when I ask for like Midjourney, one of the top AI image generation models, to create an image with this specifically Rockstar Games Red Dead Redemption 2 gameplay screenshots, and I ask it to take inspiration from Red Dead Redemption 2, you can start to see some of the lighting similarities from the Rage engine that Rockstar uses being implemented into these AI generated screenshots. So if I were to continue tweaking this and working on it, I think I could probably get the lighting to be very, very similar. Again, these are AI generated, we just made in real time. There's artifacting again around the belts and the hands usually, but the lighting seems very similar to what we would see in Red Dead Redemption 2. And I think probably that's what we're seeing here, is that these are, I would bet, AI generated screenshots and images that have gone through a lot of compression to cover up some of those details, and also some of the kind of telltale signs of AI image generation. And I'm guessing that they were specifically asking for it to light it similarly to Rockstar's engine, whether they asked it to render it like GTA 6 or Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm not sure, but it doesn't to me look like Anvil Next. All of that to say, if these do still somehow end up being real, and it's just one of those things where it looks AI generated, but it ends up being real. And it's like, yeah, we were just so hyper skeptical that we slipped into cynicism and we dismissed something that ended up being real. There's actually a new weapon called the foot weapons, and you can use those. Maybe these do end up being real. I don't think so. But if they are, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. I hope they can fix whatever's wrong with his ponytail, because I don't know what the hell is happening there. I think that's also a weird AI artifact. But I think this would be great because these do look good. The lighting looks really good, but like most AI generated images at first glance, when you look a little bit deeper, it starts to just look kind of weird and bizarre. Like again, the filigree and stuff over here on the railing, you can barely make it out because of the compression, but it also appears to be swirling in strange non-symmetrical ways, which is odd and not typical for architecture or video games that want to reuse assets and stuff. So it's just kind of strange. But I think that the fact that this is blown up already, this was posted this morning and it's already sitting at 5,300 likes. People like me are talking about it, obviously. I think it shows there's a lot of interest in the Black Flag remake. I posted a video last week that it is on its way on the main channel to like 200,000 views, and it's not announced yet. Like, that's what's crazy, is that on paper this thing doesn't exist and yet everybody knows about it, is talking about it, is interested in it. And I mean, like we said on the podcast with Joy Raptor, it's kind of the first time in 5 years or so that Ubisoft has actually had something that people really want. With AC Shadows, I think it was like a decade too late. If that game came out in 2015, I think people would have been stoked to get an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, but it kind of came out too late. But with this, I think there actually is an instance of like Ubisoft having something that people really, really want. And I think they know it, but they can't afford to screw it up. Okay. They just can't. I know there's debate and there's outrage over the leaks and rumors suggesting that they're removing like the modern day stuff, the frustration over potential changes to the combat system. And honestly, I think no matter what, they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Black Flag is a beloved game, and there's, to a certain extent, like, you're between a rock and a hard place. You're going to piss off the new players if you don't change stuff, and you're going to piss off the old players if you do change stuff. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they rework the combat system, it plays better and it like meets modern expectations a little more closely. But then also old school fans will be pissed off they don't have the old combat system. I get it. I understand it. The modern day sequences after AC3 with the Desmond storyline getting tied up, they just never really landed. And Black Flag came at a time right after the Desmond storyline where they were still trying to figure out what they were going to do with the modern day stuff. And it took them years and years and years to settle on the idea that we don't have much. And so we're just kind of move on from the modern day stuff, which is what they've done now. I mean, AC Shadows basically had nothing. I mean, they had little nods here and there for the modern day stuff, but basically nothing. And that seems to be the direction they're going in now. They're not going to try to do the Abstergo, dual storyline where of course in Black Flag there was a lot of modern day stuff, and I'm interested in hearing how they've settled that, because in AC4 Black Flag, if you don't remember, there's a lot of storylines tied to the modern day events of the game. So I'm not sure how it plays out if you just strip all of that out. Maybe it works out just fine, but I'm interested in seeing how they do that, if that even is true. Those leaks are, of course, alleged, so you never know. But with this, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. The fact that we're getting excited over what are almost certainly AI-generated images, I think shows that there's a lot of interest, and we just want to know more and see what they've been up to. And I hope it's good. If it's not, we will have plenty to talk about. But these particular screenshots I would take with a boulder of salt. As you can see, big extras, specific explanation of them was a friend of mine sent me these pictures without any context. I decided to post them here because I thought they were interesting. I only believe them because my friend leaked some information about AC Hexe to me long before the leaks appeared online, and they were identical. Take these images with a grain of salt. It's 50-50 situation right here. And other people like Synth Potato says it looks like a Red Dead 2 mod. Not gonna lie, that's why I think the lighting is inspired by Red Dead, but I don't think these are real personally. I think it would be because the assets are seemingly original. There weren't assets like these in the Guarma section in Red Dead 2. They would have to add these in themselves, and I just don't think that they could reasonably do that. So yeah, I'm guessing AI generated with prompts specifically asking for Rockstar's engine, and that's all she wrote. So that's my take. That's my take. Maybe in 6 months we'll see these and people will replicate these screenshots and it'll be like, it was real the whole time. But I personally don't think so. We'll see. Other people have alleged that maybe it's part of a cinematic trailer, but even then there's so many weird artifacts, tidbits here and there, like the hair, like the hands, like the weird stuff hanging off the belt. I think it's more likely that it's just AI generated. I know some people are saying it's not AI generated, but again, there's other apps that disagree completely both ways. So I think it's just left up to gut checks. But anyway, that's my feeling. That's my answer. Take it or leave it. Let me know what you think of these leaks in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe, because we are headed to 250,000 subs on the Luke Stevens Live channel, and I would love for you to be one of them. So make sure to do that. Okay? Okay. Much love. I'll see you soon on stream. Tomorrow's a State of Play. Can't wait to watch it with you. We'll be co-streaming it, so buckle up, my friends. Until then, cheers. He took my thing.